Okay, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Game Industry Executive Summary. It's been an interesting week, to say the least. I'm your host, Casey. We don't have Dave with us today, but we have the incredible Manu joining us. Manu, I know this is an exciting week for you. I haven't looked at the newsletter that you've already prepared, more or less, but we're going to take it one step at a time. But before we do that, how are you?
I think probably a lot of news because everybody's back from holiday. Most people, we are officially in September. We're in autumn in some countries already. And yeah, maybe that's the reason, or just because some big games have been launched recently. Also, that's usually what happens. So you don't have a lot happening in July and August beside American football games. But then starting end of August, beginning of September, that's when the holiday season almost starts, right?
Yes, we're 3 months away, and I'm already trying to figure out my vacation, all that stuff.
Yes.
Yes, it's going to be a hectic autumn this year, and I'm really looking forward to seeing. Okay, what is it you have to say about the happenings? Of course, not necessarily a shocker for most of us professional people, but it's going to be interesting to hear what you have to say, because, and I agree with you, by the way, this time around, I agree completely with you about the highlight. But obviously, nobody can miss this. PlayStation or Sony took down Concord after roughly a month alive, or less than a month, I believe. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it feels extremely recent.
Mm-hmm.
So what can we learn about that, Manu? What are people saying?
I'm waiting for the movie. They're gonna make a movie out of that, or a documentary. I think it will be super insightful because it's too fresh to really, and we don't know what happens internally, right? But this is kind of massive. That I think the budget was about $200 million for that game, and they've claimed that they've sold 25,000 units. They made 1 million revenue, which would not even pay for the trailer, right? Just to put things into perspective.
Yes.
It's a massive failure on many levels. It's very interesting to understand why, and I think it needs some time to understand what really happened, or could there be such a disconnect between the initial intention and the audience and the market environment, right? But at the same time, I think the Astrobot game is going to launch this week or next week, very soon.
Super exciting.
Yeah, and it's going to be probably super successful. And it's also a $40 game. So you have one $40 game and another $40 game, and one is not selling. And the other is going to sell by millions of units. So I think these are different type of game, but it's interesting. It really shows why some can be successful and some cannot be successful. And the reality is that the live service games are just oversaturated, right? Because by essence, you can only play one of two of these games on a regular basis, right? Because this is such time consuming. And I think the time right now to be successful is to come with an experience, which is a few dozens of hours, maybe more of a finite experience that people can just play as a hiatus from their lifestyle games. But coming and compete and replace the daily game players are playing, it's another challenge, right? And you need to be absolutely incredible from a concept, from an innovation, from a gameplay, from a marketing standpoint, right? So I think that this is a bit, sorry, but I just finished the intro.
It's all good.
State of the industry, right? If you want to be successful, just come with more of a finite experience at this point, rather than the never-lasting stuff.
Manu, I will say this, because I'm not sure if it was you who said it or somebody else. Building a game with a certain business model in mind instead of having a vision for what the product is going to do and why it's cool. That's one thing. The other thing is, if you remember, when they showed Concord for the first time, people were like, you can also look at the chats. Mm-hmm. People were extremely excited. It's a really fun setting. The characters were really awesome. The graphics, the comedy, the entire the IP itself was extremely appealing. But as soon as at the end of that trailer, as soon as oh, it's a hero shooter, then people immediately dropped off and lost interest. And so there is that huge disconnect there. That's one thing. But it seems like I mean, the world they built, you thought it was an adventure game where, okay, I'm going to go on this adventure. Maybe I'm jumping between planets, what's that game called again that they released last time? Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart was an amazing game. And it looked like, okay, maybe it's like a cowboy bebop thingy. I'm doing my adventures across the galaxy. But apparently, obviously, it wasn't that. Do you think, Manu, because I just Googled it and I was thinking about, if you remember Multiverses, they launched it, and obviously that was a free-to-play game, but then they, people drop off. They removed it, they reworked the game, they released it. Now I'm not sure what the status of it is. And I'm also a bit surprised, and maybe this is the thing they're going to do, I don't know. Maybe take it back, rework it into a free-to-play model, release it back to the wild again. Do you think we will see that?
I don't think it makes sense. I think they might salvage the what they created in terms of characters, in terms of world building, but I don't see how they can come back with a free game. I mean, the game, I think, is free for the PlayStation Plus players anyway.
It is? I think completely.
So I don't know. And even, the open beta, you had no players in the open beta, right? It's not, I mean, you can't say it's price barrier at this point if people don't even want to try it when it's free just to test. So,
by the way, I have to do this as well. This is not looking pretty either. Now I'm showing Multiverses Steam charts, and we see the re-release, spiked again, and then flat. Yeah, a bit sad.
Yeah, what they can do is I made a joke. Maybe they should make it a battle royale out of Concord, right? I mean, switching in the same way that Epic switched from Save the World, which was a survival co-op shooter, into a battle royale. Maybe there is something else they can do with all these assets. But I wouldn't think about a genre that likes being super successful right now and then can just do a copy and use the same gameplay. So it's it's interesting. I was checking what.
By the way, just in case people haven't been following, Concord is a hero shooter in the style of Overwatch. Is that correct, or is there more to it?
Yeah. Yes.
It's an arena, and you're just okay, gotcha. Yeah.
So there've been other examples of game like dying very quickly. You had Battleborn, which was launched. Maybe I can share a link with you.
I'm trying to show, while you're speaking about that, I'm showing the state of play videos, gameplay videos from Concord. I mean, the characters, it looks like a single player game on so many instances from a presentation point of view. But obviously, and this was a paid game. Was it $60 or $40?
60, I think. It was. Concord is 40, I think. Yes.
Yeah. Not the quality. What's it called? The presentation values, amazing. On another, look at this, the Star Child thing, amazing stuff. But obviously, doesn't represent the gameplay.
Yeah, and I mean it's a bit like a Marvel game without it's a Wish Marvel, right? Wish Avengers.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work. I put in the chat a nice link to failures in the past. That's kind of also interesting. So okay. I think it's one of the first game that is shutting down completely so quickly, right? Sometimes they would just stop selling it, but they would keep everything open. But here they are even refunding the package copies of the game. So
I want to actually, by the way, I want to applaud them for doing that. Like somebody,
there was no other way if you shut down the servers, right? And otherwise there could be legal action if they do that. Battleborn was released at the time of Overwatch. Crucible was kind of all these games were these multiplayer games like MOBA, FPS, or Overwatch type of game.
oh good lord! Now that we're looking at this list, I mean, holy shit!
It's always very similar type of games, right? These are live service games, multiplayer games only, most of them, and just if they can't find their audience, then it's instantly over, right?
I mean, those who are listening in, go to GameSpot.com and search for Concord is shutting down.
Yeah.
And there's a huge list. I mean, I didn't even realize this. Like, I knew about these games. Most of them I've heard about, actually. But like when you have the context of seeing all of them stacked together, it's just crazy. Like, why are people doing this to themselves?
And there is a pattern, right? There is a type of game also. You can notice that. At the same time, or if it's a single player offline game, there is no reason to shut it down, right? Because it's not costing that much maintenance anymore. So, yeah. So that, I mean, we've talked about Concord in previous week, but this decision, it's kind of shocking also for the whole live service strategy from Sony, right?
I wonder.
Hit or miss in that way.
They did hire a lot of cool people. I mean, they hired some really senior managers from EA. They hired people from Activision. The analytics team is amazing. A lot of people from Blizzard. I mean, there's a lot of cool people working on live services at Sony. And I had the privilege to work with a lot of them. Very, very skilled and highly regarded.
Yeah.
But it's... to be honest, I'm actually confused about the amount of investment Sony wants to do into live service games, because ultimately speaking, like the bread and butter of PlayStation, what I personally as a fan associate PlayStation with, I associate them with these blockbuster single player games, the Spider-Mans, the Last of Us, the all these games that we talked about, Rift Apart, Ratchet and Clank. And these games are not gonna they're probably gonna break even or make Spider-Man and Last of Us will probably make more than break even, but they are platform defining. This is why you own a PlayStation. You own a PlayStation to play these games, and then obviously now they're doing more than break even because they're bringing all of these games at a later point on Steam. But you have this brand that's associated with these games and these experiences that you cannot find anywhere else. So for the life of me, I can't figure out why you would want to move away from that. Apart from making more money, but the risk is there.
I think they saw the engagement of games that they don't do, like Fortnite, like Minecraft, not Minecraft, like Roblox maybe, and they're like, well, we need to have a game with our Destiny. So I said we need to have more games with high engagement because we want the players. But engagement is not everything. First of all, you also have to monetize, and then it takes game time from other experience also. So I don't know. I'm sure they must be scratching their heads about where they are going next. And I think that, yes, they have the power of these huge single-player IPs. And to come back to the discussion of last week about maybe the solution is to have these half games, $30 expansion, standalone expansion. Imagine you had every 6 months, you had a new Spider-Man experience or a new God of War experience. And they could ship maybe 5 to 10 games like that every year. I think that would probably also work quite well. So maybe something that they are exploring.
Well, I mean, they are winning if we want to, now that this term is outdated at this point, like the quote unquote console war. And I guess we are moving in the direction long term of the content war, right? I mean, if we want to take it to a broader sense of the Netflix and the Spotify's and all these other platforms. But but from like they've built such a big heritage and fan base, and that's why I just wanted to go back to the state of play showing of Concord. You look at the chat and the hype as soon as the game is shown at the beginning, and as soon as you understand, oh, it's a multiplayer shooter, then it immediately goes down. And for me, that is like it speaks volume for the audience of PlayStation and their expectation when it comes to quote unquote exclusive games.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts or notes about Concord before we move on to the next item?
No, and I think we don't need to talk about it anymore in the future because it's gone. Right?
It's done and dusted.
Yeah.
But what a turn of events! I mean, it is extremely interesting, and I think this is like, by the way, Manu, final notes here before we actually close the casket on this one. This is a perfect. What do you want to call it? A perfect, not necessarily a lesson, but like I think schools probably should take this example and teach it to students, so they understand, like, when it comes to brand building, when it comes to expectations of your fan base, and managing expectations and what you're good at, etc. Okay, really good stuff, Manu. Thank you so much. I'll move on to the next item on your highlights, which is Tencent and NetEase are reportedly reconsidering the scaling back investments in Japanese game studios due to the resurgence of the Chinese market. So I have so many questions on this one. I will start with the first one. Historically speaking, has Tencent and NetEase invested a lot in the Japanese market of studios and games?
Well, they are everywhere, right?
Obviously.
So
at this point,
yes, they certainly invest more than most other companies. But we talked about Blue Protocol last week, so that's kind of an example. There's also the game Visions of Mana that's just being released right now, and the studio will be instantly shut down after the release of that game. So it's part of the whole discussion about Chinese and Asian studios kind of starting to do things themselves and not subcontracting some of the work because they kind of nail the formula, or maybe they feel they have acquired the knowledge to do the games themselves. So that could be one of the explanation here. And it's we'll see how it goes, because this is Japan. This is not yet European studios, but I'm a bit worried that this could be the next one. So, more like Chinese companies moving away, and also interesting that they feel like there is actually more potential in their local market in China, and we see that with Wulong, right? That maybe they've discovered new ways of making money in their own territories, that they don't need the experience or the type of game that are developed in other markets to make money.
And probably the size of the investment doesn't have to be as big either, so the risk is lower.
Yeah,
potentially.
Yeah, that's totally possible.
But this is such a turn of events in a way as well, because we spoke about this last week in relationship to the Asian studios rising again, especially in when we talk about AAAs as an example.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had a second question on this. So are there any, and I don't want to put you on the spot, are there any studios that we should be aware of, or companies that we should be aware of in Japan that Tencent and NetEase are heavily invested in?
No, I don't know. I have not made that research. That's probably something you can find, but I think this is one way. But I don't think they will stop with Japan, right? I think it's more about looking at studios or companies now in Europe where they are invested, and they will probably look at each of them and consider if it's profitable enough, or maybe if you can use that money to do some games themselves. That's more like that, I think.
I was going to try and Google for that stuff, but I don't think I'll be able to pull that information as we speak.
Yeah.
But it seems like this specific story is hitting everywhere, so I'm not surprised that you put it on a highlight.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the news then. Ubisoft slides and well, I'm trying to read this one correctly.
Yes. Read first and then read it loudly.
yes. Game developer Ubisoft slides and made muted slides and made muted reception for Star Wars Outlaws. So, Star Wars Outlaws launched last week. It was okay reception. I mean, I think it was hovering around the 70 mark. Is that correct?
Yeah, 70 plus 75, something, 76.
Yeah. But what is this? Are we talking about like the stock is plummeting a bit? Or okay.
So their market cap now is less than $2 billion, which is 2015 level, almost 10 years ago. It's not the only reason why Ubisoft is going down. Outlaw is not the only reason, because they are also it has been announced that they are leaving some Eurostock 600 index or something. So that's also explaining that. But if you look at the stock price of Ubisoft, it's really be going down for a few years now. If you extend to 5 years, for example.
Yeah. Oh wow! I did not realize this.
Yeah. And there is no end in sight, right? It's when you compare that with Take-Two or with EA, it's really a different story.
Yeah.
So it's like bottoming right now, and there was only one piece of news about the commercial performance of Outlaws, and it was basically saying that it's selling significantly less than Jedi Survivor in the UK in package. So it's not enough information to confirm that. But I think they have not announced any numbers or anything, and the game is not a breakthrough, right? In any case, it's probably a nice Star Wars game, but no more than that. In the same way, probably going to sell a bit more than Avatar because it's Star Wars and because the game is a bit better. But I still feel like it's a weird time to launch that game right at the end of August.
Yeah.
And maybe it will perform better. So it just and also there are rumors that the X Defiant, the COD-like game is being shut down very soon already. So yeah, it's a bit difficult situation for Ubisoft. What's interesting is that the company with all the IPs is only worth $2 billion, which is pocket change for some bigger
for
fish,
somebody
right?
to come and pick it up.
Yeah,
maybe Zavi. I mean, but I think though the isn't the what is the family now called? The Ubisoft owners. Guillemot, thank you. They are very protective, and they've been around for a long time, and they have been leading the company for a very long time.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So I wonder if there's that, being proud of your family business, so to say, quote unquote, at this point.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And Tencent is 10% of Ubisoft.
There you go.
Yeah.
But you said $2 billion today?
Yeah.
That's I feel like that's chump change for a company, let's say like Zavi. I mean, Zavi put in Manu. Zavi put in $1 billion into Embracer. Now, obviously, we're seeing that thing didn't go that well. But I feel like you could easily pick up Ubisoft, and boom, now you have multiple studios in the world. You have multiple IPs. Now you just scale down, focus on the core business, and then because their strategy is to develop the domestic production of games in Saudi Arabia, boom, there you can just immediately almost absorb a bunch of resources and start up a couple studios.
Yeah, and I mean Ubisoft, they're coming. This is after Skull and Bones, right? The first quadruple A game in the industry. That's
I forgot about that one.
Avatar didn't perform that well. The last Assassin's Creed was more of a standalone DLC than a really full game. So all eyes on the next one. And it better be good. It better be better than Ghost of Tsushima also, because they are not the first one with a samurai open world type of game. Yeah.
Do you know what I think the problem with Ubisoft is when it comes to these major projects? Is I feel like they want to systemize how games are made.
Mm-hmm.
So they create these templates, and then that template just gets like, it's a stamp that goes around. And I feel like that people can see through it. Now, obviously, some of their games, like, the iterations of the Far Cries and all these, but how often can you do it?
Yeah, and they are not the only one that can do it, and this is kind of an age formula also. It's been around for 20 years. There at some point, players are like, okay, well, that looks more like a reskin than anything else at this point.
Yeah. Okay. I will move on to the next item, my friend. Dune Awakening on Xbox Series S is going to be a challenge. I'm not sure if this is coincidence or not. I think we were speaking about the challenges of Xbox a couple weeks ago, and like, the Xbox Series S. So what can we learn about this news piece?
It's not there by coincidence, I can tell you that.
Oh, okay.
It's an
well, I mean, you're the one putting things together, so I'm seeing the threads here.
Yes, it's just a follow-up. Whenever I see something that relates to what some assumption we've made or some discussion we had, I think it's interesting to have more voices saying the same thing to corroborate an idea or a perception. So yeah, we hear that. And if you look at the news, the piece of news after another game, they are complaining because they are asking help from Microsoft to launch their game on Xbox, but they have some problem with that. It's not clear if it's because Xbox have been firing a lot of people and there is some delay to some approval process. But this S series is gonna be a bottleneck for the industry, and the only consequence is that you're gonna have games not released on Xbox right now, right? I think that's but I don't see how Microsoft can win that one, right? I don't know what's the decision.
I have a solution. I have an immediate solution, and I'm not sure. So I don't know what the install base is of the S.
Bigger than the X, probably.
You think so?
Oh yes.
Oh, I would like to challenge that, but I hope you are wrong. Because my solution wouldn't work otherwise. It's like, okay, if the S is like 10%, 20% of the install base, just give them X's for free, discontinue the S, move on to the next thing. Let me see if I can find S versus X install base. Do you think we can find that? I don't think we can, but oh, here we go. Microsoft gives Xbox console install base numbers. Let's see. This is from... Oh, no, this is from 2022. I don't think this won't work for us.
50-50?
Look, oh good lord, there is this in-depth 38-page document. I'm not sure how much time we want to spend on this item specifically. Let's see. Why can't things be simple? I need AI for this. Nope, I don't think I can't find that. Choosing the right... Nope, that's not what we want. Well, I'll try and find that at the same time as we're speaking, and I'll just interrupt you on the next piece then. Then let's move on to
50-50. It's certainly not over. X is more expensive, right? And the S is a very good entry point console.
You know what? I'm gonna try and cheat. I'll ask if ChatGPT can help us there. Okay, I'll move on to the next item. Hideo Kojima celebrates Metal Gear 5. Yeah, that was, by the way, very surprising. But I think there was something in the game that said, 20, like a date or something like that. Can you enlighten us on the MGS5 celebration?
Mm-hmm. And we discussed about that last week, right? About Metal Gear Solid. So I was just putting that. It's been a long time since we had a new Metal Gear Solid game. That's
by the way, I'm sorry, Manu, I didn't notice this. Remembering how he did basically quote unquote everything. Now I'm not sure this is maybe clickbait, but this is interesting. Like this is really annoying, by the way. Like reading stuff like this. I mean, playing MGS5 for those who haven't played MGS5. So basically, it's an open world-ish type game, but it's like you go into missions. However, between every mission you finish, there's a credit list that rolls as you finish the mission. So you go to the mission, you finish it, the end sequence is you ride a helicopter to extract, and that sequence of watching the movie or extraction of Snake, there is a credit list. And as soon as that credit list rolls, it's like, Kojima's name at the top, which is really like, annoying, I would say. I'm not sure if it was like, one of those, because he had a lot of issues with Konami at the time. I'm not sure it was like one of those things like, being in despite of the company or something like that, but it was extremely annoying. And now seeing this text here talking about doing everything, that makes no sense at all. I mean, there's an army of people working on that game. But okay.
Yeah. No, nothing more than that. Just
okay, I'll let people dive into it then.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to juggle the searching for the numbers on the Xboxes. Yeah. Next item on the list, Capcom just made its mobile Resident Evil games even worse. I'll let you speak about that.
Yeah, you need an online connection to start the game now.
Okay, for single-player games.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There is no explanation right now.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, we already talked about the lack of success of this kind of premium game with full price launch on iPhone. Nobody's buying them, and now they make it not even less user friendly. So I don't know where this is going, but right now it is not going in the right direction.
I thought people have moved on past that part, but I guess it's still an annoyance for some users.
Yeah.
And especially mobile users, they don't care really. But it's interesting that somebody chose to write that story. Just go back on the Xbox sales. ChatGPT doesn't have an answer, but estimations are what you said, Manu, 50-50 almost-ish. Okay, last item on the news. New leadership for Nintendo of Europe following continental reorganization. I'm very surprised by this. Tell me, what's going on with Nintendo in Europe?
So they are regrouping some of the entities like Nintendo of Europe, France, Netherlands, Iberica into a single entity. But the thing that I found interesting, I don't know these people specifically, but the guy, so Mr. Perenya, is retiring after
35 years.
We are in the video game industry, and we have people with 35-year experience in the industry, right?
Wow.
We're getting old as an industry, right?
We are. Yeah, I mean, there is the what is it called? Is it called not the shift of the guard? Is that what it's called?
The what?
The shift of the guard, or am I butchering it now?
Maybe
the change of the guard. Change of the guard.
But my point, it's a mature industry, right? And when you're in a mature industry, the innovation is limited. The decision might be taken by people that are not in touch with the taste of the youth also. You can increase the disconnection between people maybe 50, 60-year-old deciding to build games or to greenlight the budget for games for teenagers. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. It was not so much the case before because people were basically building the games for that they would like themselves. But now it's kind of and we've already seen that in the past, that there seems to be a disconnect between the decisions taken by the execs and what the audience actually wants. Concord might be an example, right? It might be a way of execs saying, oh, wow, it looks like this business model is working, let's do one. And then it's not as simple as that.
Or speaking about Ubisoft, I mean, Eve has been leading that company, I think, for 30 years-ish, give or take, maybe more even.
Totally.
Oh.
So it was more a reflection about the age of the industry and the fact that we are aging. Yeah.
I really appreciate that you're talking about this, Manu, because I didn't even think about that until this moment. Like, holy shit. Both from the perspective of the industry is getting old. Obviously, we are both getting older. but also from the perspective of, okay, I didn't think about this. Like, when we talked about the Ubisofts and Nintendos and all of these other companies with people working there for plus 30 years, it is going to be interesting. I think there is those people were probably born in the 40s or 50s,
Mm-hmm.
We had a similar trend 10 years ago with in the engineering fields in Sweden,
Yeah.
where people born in the 50s, 40s are getting retired. So this is going to be interesting to follow and see, what impact will this have on industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Moving on to the trends then. Roblox is already the biggest game in the world. Why can't it make profit? Tell us about this.
It's a really good read. I encourage people to read it. And I encourage people to subscribe to that guy, Matthew Ball, because he usually writes very interesting stuff. And it's just a explanation of where the revenue of Roblox is coming from, where some of it is going to the creators, to the platform, and then why at this point, why it has one of the highest engagement in the world, right? The monthly active users are just crazy, and you see this curve, they keep growing. It's not like it was a 1 year or 2 year fad. It keeps increasing. The engagement keeps increasing in that game. But still,
by the way,
like the revenue is not the profit is not following that curve. So I think it's super interesting, a super interesting read, and it also shows that engagement at all cost is not going to pay for your game, right? At some point, you also
this one is interesting, by the way, Manu. This graph that speaks about the data active users. This is based on age, I assume. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And I thought I was in the perception that as soon as kids hit, I don't know, 10 years old, they shift over to Fortnite or Minecraft or something else. But looking at this graph, this is super interesting to see that over 13 is almost as big as under 13.
I think, and I kind of share that perception that people move and change game because they grow up, but it's not always the case. You are always have nostalgia to what you have experienced where you were young, right? And if the experience kind of adapt to your age, why would you switch to something else if you still enjoy being in that environment? Why would, like, because I'm a grown up now I want to have a better visual fidelity? Maybe not. Maybe that's not what young people are thinking right now. The sample I have at home is they don't care about that at all. They just want fun gameplay. And they still play Minecraft and they still play Roblox just because of the gameplay experience more than anything else. So I think this all, nothing can prove that people will switch from one game to a more adult game just because they are aging, right? There's no what is the equivalent of Minecraft for adults? There is none. It's just Minecraft. But
it's Minecraft, yeah.
Playing, right? What's the equivalent for adult of Roblox? Maybe GTA if you like the games like GTA, but Roblox is such a toolbox of all gameplay experience that you can't replace Roblox with just one game or not even with 5 or 10 games. So
it's also like it's a platform similar to Netflix, so the content is endless.
Exactly, and we are not here to say what a teenager should play when he becomes 18 or 16, right? It just they will just do that. We tend to judge that based on our experience or based on our taste as adults, but it doesn't mean that it's going to follow the same curve. Right? I mean, people were of our age, they were playing Doom when they were 12, and they're still gonna play the next Doom probably. You see, they've not switched to a different type of game because they were grown-ups. So,
Manu, I gotta say, I'm so happy. So we were both working at EA at one point, and then I moved on, and then now you moved on. I'm so happy and privileged to be in this conversation with you because you're blowing my mind on so many levels today, especially today. Like, there's so many things happening. But I will say, I usually bring up the example of Vampire Survivors. You look at that game on first, first look, what the hell is this crap? And then I spent 40 hours like glued to the screen with my 2 kids. We had more fun looking at that thing together than playing a lot of AAA games. By the way, I want to highlight 2 things here. One, since 2006, apparently, Roblox, I thought it was like in the 2010s era, but they've distributed $3 billion to UGC creators.
Yeah.
That's crazy. They can buy, if they band together, they can buy Ubisoft.
Well, it's one of the biggest video game employers, right? When you think about it, from a HR perspective, HR costs. If you think about it, they are basically paying people to create experience. So yeah, it's a huge company. It's full of freelance. Basically, it's kind of a umbrella brand hiring freelance to create experience, and they are paying them based on the popularity.
And they're probably paying because I think, what is the distribution? Is that 15% they're paying out?
Or I don't know. We would have to Google that.
But I'll just say this to the people who are listening in, because I want to echo what you just said before the story. MatthewBall.co, MATTHEW Ball.co. This article, I agree with you completely, is a must read for people. And the data here is crazy. Anything else about this, Manu, or do you want me to move on?
No, we have still a few topics to cover.
Okay, that was amazing, by the way. I'm actually surprised it's not part of the highlights. But moving on to the next item.
As I wrote before the podcast, there are so many things I want to talk about this week. Everything is highlight, nothing is highlight. It's really cool.
Okay, this one is also another example of a highlight. I guess like everything decided to happen this week. English is no longer the number 1 language on Steam.
Yeah.
So, what language is it?
Simplified Chinese.
Interesting. And obviously, there is a connection here to Wukong. Is that the case?
Absolutely. Which tells me it brought new players to the platform, right? It's not just the existing Chinese player that bought that game. It's also so many new players. It's an acquisition game for Steam also.
So we are at that point when we thought Steam can never become bigger, but here we are.
Oh, we saw last week it broke the 37 million record, right? Because also of the launch of Wulong. So there is no end to it. At this point, it can, as long as there is no meaningful competitor as a digital distribution platform on PC, it can only grow, because it will grow further when you will have more portable devices that will substitute the experience of maybe some console or the Switch, for example. I mean, they are, the PC as we know it can only grow, I think, at this point of time. I don't know for how long, but I don't see who's going to cannibalize PC.
Okay, so again super surprised. Like, you're blowing my mind today. Really good stuff. And the next one I'm really interested in, because I'm really passionate about this topic specifically. So this article is about GTA 6. It's 6, right? Yes, it is. And people are waiting for the standardization or price hike for AAA games, I guess, at this point. I want to play a game before we actually discuss the article, if there is anything beyond this, which is, what do you think GTA 6 will sell for?
80 for sure. I just wonder if they will have a SKU which, if they have a GTA Online, if they will have like a cheap SKU just for GTA Online. But I think for the main game, I think probably 80, without a doubt.
So you're saying main game is 80, and then probably either 2 additional SKUs. Wait a second. If we go back historically, I don't think they've ever had another SKU apart from the base game. Would that be accurate to say?
Because GTA Online was not really ready at launch, right? and they were not sure about the success. And so they just gated GTA Online I think at the same price as the main game. But what we saw in GTA 6 is that they dropped the episode, the DLC, the story-based DLC, because of the success of GTA Online. So it makes me feel like they are not going to come with a season pass kind of skew like Ubisoft is doing with Outlaws, where they will say we will go add more single-player content in the future. I don't think they would do that. But will they go to 90? Because right now it's 80 is the maximum, right? For a standard edition on PlayStation 5.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Spider-Mans, the other types of games that PlayStation released, yes.
They might try to go at $80 on PC, because I don't think we are there yet. But I don't know.
Good Lord. I mean, if we just talk about the funnel and the amount of players who are playing GTA Online, I feel like they can easily get away with $100, easy, on the standard edition.
Oh yeah. I mean, just from the hype, right?
Yeah, but absolutely.
It's not because GTA will sell at 80 or 90 that any random developer that has a budget for a AAA can do the same, right?
Yeah.
Nobody is GTA, so I don't know if it's opening the door to other average games to be sold at 80 when some games at $40 are not selling at all. So I think it's a bit more complicated than that. But and it's not because you have very high production costs that it gives you the right to sell at a higher price. That's not how it works. You only sell at a higher price if your game is good and if people are ready to buy it. So
that's such a good point, and I agree with you. I mean, we talked about Elden Ring a while ago, and that game should have sold for $100 in my opinion as well. Obviously, they made a huge service to the players and the fan base of keeping that price at $60, which is nothing. In today's terms, so to say. Apologies for the people who have a hard time with their budgets. But, I mean, the fact is that these games can, if they wanted to, get away with it.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then props up to them, by the way. Okay, good stuff. Let's move on to the next item then. I'm going to skip and move on to the final item on the trends. Helldivers 2, among other games, sports studios. So Toadman Interactive shut down offices in Sweden, Norway, and Rocksteady reportedly lays off staff following Suicide Squad. Wow. So a lot of things happening here. Let's start with the first one. Toadman Interactive. We haven't seen a single game by the single owned game by that studio or a series of studios. For a very long time. They've had a lot of difficulties, unfortunately. But is there anything else underlying that we need to know about in regards to this item?
No, every week there is a line about which studio are closing or just. I know I try to regroup in one point because otherwise it's too much. No, I don't have anything specific to say. Just a mention there, and also whoever will be working there or now looking for a job. I think it's always good people in the industry to know what's happening from an HR standpoint in the industry.
Absolutely. By the way, I really appreciate the grouping there. So the next item was Rocksteady reportedly lays off staff, which is not surprising considering, the lackluster performance of Suicide Squad.
And we say we wouldn't talk about Concord, but wait for the closing of maybe the Concord studio.
I'm actually, now obviously as you release a game, there's some legal stuff tied to promises, but I'm actually surprised that they didn't do the same thing that Sony did with Concord. Was just here is the game, enjoy it. We're not going to do DLC. We're not going to invest time in live service. Sorry, but this is what we're delivering.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to the rumors then. Microsoft Studios is working on 2 Transformer video game projects.
Yeah, not that much to say as usual with the rumors. And again, comes back to the discussion about Hasbro, Mattel, all these toy companies toy companies looking at leveraging their IPs. And it's true that Transformer is kind of a popular IP. We've seen they have 6 or 7 movies. There's a new one coming, some kind of animated version. And from a video game standpoint, there is not that much, right? There is no AAA Transformer game. So maybe something is coming. Yes.
Okay. And then the final rumor, then there was supposedly the Batman game, but that's apparently just a rumor.
Yeah.
According to okay.
I would say there's been a long time since we had a good Batman game, and I think we.
Do you think we need one though?
Everybody's always ready for a Batman. I think Batman is one of the easiest comic book character to put into a video game because of the gadget, because of the universe, because it's easier than
and probably the only successful like DC outside of comics character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So and even if you look at Marvel, right? They're okay. Well, okay, you have Spider-Man, but you don't have many that have been very successful, unless I'm mistaken.
We're looking forward to the new or the quote unquote single player Wolverine game by Insomniac. That's going to be super exciting. But I'm trying to think like what good hero games do we have historically speaking?
I mean, there's been some fighting games for sure. But this kind of action adventure open world game that you could there. I mean, we know there is this Iron Man game developed by EA.
Marvel Snap, which is just a
card game.
A card game.
Yeah. But you see these kind of blockbuster games like the equivalent another Spider-Man in the Marvel universe. When you see how much they are successful in movies, feels like they are still not successful enough as video games.
Okay, I just had to close the door there. Yeah, I'll give one final game that, I mean, obviously you mentioned fighting games that doesn't count, but I'm really happy that Capcom chose to release some older fighting games soon.
Yeah.
Okay, then moving on to the numbers then. Wukong, obviously, again, is in the news, selling significantly better than Palworld and is on track to being the best-selling game of 2024. We've had so many hidden, or not hidden, what are they called now? Runoff successes? Is that the right word I'm looking for, Manu?
Yeah.
Surprising successes, I guess. Helldivers at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Wukong now.
Well, yeah, it's good. I'm curious. I'm curious to see how many millions they will sell. It's on track. Right?
By the way, is Wukong selling, or if we want to summarize quickly, because well, yes, the Chinese market obviously huge, but Wukong, is it such a good game that is warranting the sales, or are there other underlying factors we should be aware of?
I think if you remove the units sold in China, it's probably average number for a AAA game. Is that game really a AAA? That's the question. It look and feel like a AAA, but it probably didn't. It doesn't have the marketing machine of a AAA game. I don't think they spent 50 million in the marketing campaign to launch a new IP like this.
Yeah.
So I think numbers are quite good, but the word to mouth is huge, right? And the fact that the reviews on Steam are also very positive. Everybody's talking about it. Everyone wants to try it. And I think that's one of the reasons also of its success, and not really because it's so much innovative from a gameplay standpoint, but it's refreshing for a Western world gamer. This lore is refreshing.
I feel like I'll just add one final thing to this, which is I think there is a general hunger in the world for games that are not necessarily made by developers from other countries, but games that explore a completely new or different culture and also make sure to live that culture correctly. So the best example of that in the form of a Western-made game is Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
And obviously that studio was awarded some, I forgot what it was, but like the city of Tsushima awarded the studio some type of cultural or heritage based on how but how respectful, I guess, and representable the game displayed the culture of Japan. So that type of thing, I think, could, generate a lot of sales for games that are true. to the culture they're trying to represent, so to say.
I mean, people still want to evade from the daily life, right? And just get put in an environment that's different. It can be outer space, like it can be in another place of the world where we've never been. It was the same back then with Far Cry 4. I remember when it was in Nepal. I mean, it was amazing for me, you know. It was like, I've never been there. I just love these mountains and everything. And I still play Tsushima, and it's the same. You feel like, wow, you're in medieval Japan. It's super, super interesting, super, super fun. So yeah, that play. I think that plays a big role when you look at this kind of open world action adventure games. You have to feel like you want to discover that world. Yeah.
I love, by the way, that example you gave about Far Cry 4, because I had the same feeling. And it's like, just on top of my head, like, have you ever played a game in Antarctica? Have you ever played a game that is in, let's say, Australia? Maybe there is, there is that Mad Max game, obviously. But have you ever played a game in Indonesia or in South America or whatever? I mean, there's so many, but obviously on point.
Yeah.
So this is another item here on the numbers. Star Wars Outlaws physical sales are 55% lower than Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, just skip that one because I said I put it in bold. Maybe I will remove it because it's incomplete and I don't want to draw any conclusion from that. But there is no wow effect about Outlaws so far, and apparently it's not doing that well, but we don't know the precise number. Probably until next week we will have a better.
And this is just physical sales, which is maybe not as...
Yeah, let's not forget it's not on Steam, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, really? It's not on Steam? Oh, is it really not on Steam?
Wait.
I'll let you research that.
No, it's not.
Okay, while you're doing that, then
it's not on Steam. It's not on Steam because I think someone at Ubisoft thought the Star Wars IP is so big that the PC player they will come to Uplay, or they think they will just subscribe to Uplay. So maybe we will never know the true performance because it's kind of a subscription seller type of game.
Wait a second, Uplay. Is that... I thought they removed their own store completely.
No. That's the other not Take-Two, which is the other one that removed the one from Borderlands.
It's
not Ubisoft. Ubisoft has still a very strong subscription service.
I'm aware of this. Yeah, okay, so the subscription service is still there on PC for Ubisoft. But do they still sell like single SKUs on there that can use
Outlaws and and I think maybe also on the Epic Game Store.
Huh. But still, it's very surprising to see. I mean, obviously, as an example, EA completely, like, Origins was killed, right?
No.
And Origins still there as well? But you can't, or can you buy it?
It's called EA Desktop, and you can purchase games there.
Oh, holy shit.
No, it's called EA Desktop app.
It's called... Okay. I'm Googling it right now.
Yeah.
But it still says download Origin for Mac. But it's called the EA app. Okay.
Yeah.
Powering EA's next generation of PC. I thought these platforms were getting killed because they started migrating, or they gave up and started migrating to Steam. But
no, the thing is, you might feel like it disappeared because some game, when you launch now on Steam, either they are Steam native, which means they're not connected in any way with EA app, or the loading of the EA app is invisible. It's behind, but it's still there because it still forces you to install the app on your computer, but you don't even see a pop-up screen or anything. So it's kind of shadow install of EA, but it's still there for many EA games, yes.
Oh, I see here you can connect to... Okay.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Okay, cool. So I'll have a look at the Ubisoft thing as well, because I thought for a while that they completely abandoned, selling games individually.
But it is on the Epic Game Store, right? So I don't understand. Anyway, I don't understand why it's not on Steam. It
could have been a deal with Epic, maybe?
Yeah, but what kind of deal can Epic make to make up for selling the game on Steam, right? How many millions do they have to put on the table? How many equivalent?
Fair point.
I don't understand. There must be a reason, but I don't get it.
Okay. I'll move on to the next item then. Coin Master. Again, it's one of those questions I'm going to ask you. What the hell is Coin Master? Surpasses $6 billion in revenue for a game that I've never heard about.
Exactly.
Tell me, what's going on? What is Coin Master?
I don't know what is Coin Master. No, I'm just kidding. It's a kind of, it's almost like an idle game somehow. Very basic gameplay. You can play it, I think, on Steam, or you can play it maybe. Let me check. You can play it on mobile. Wait.
Coin looter game.
No, it's not even on Steam. So.
Who owns it, by the way?
One of these mysterious, for me at least, gaming app, top grossing app on Android or on iPhone, on iOS. And this is more of like how do you call that?
So I'm just double checking for people here who owns this game. Moon Active. No idea what that is. But it seems like, it's not a casino thing. It's like,
yes, it is.
It is.
It's one arm bandit.
Well, wait a second. Can you? Is it a casino type game?
Yes.
So
but I don't think you can just play like a casino. It's more like you earn points. But the concept is slot machine. Yes, slot machine, basically.
Okay, so that explains a lot as well. And I wonder.
It's probably a very casual audience.
Oh yeah, so the graphics look like a kid's game, but it is a PEGI 18 game.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's not. Is it safe to assume it's not a game? Or can we claim that, or is that wrong of me to say?
Anything that has some kind of gameplay is a game, whether it resonates to you or not. Well, I think it's still there. Is still an act of gaming, right? It's not pure RNG neither. So let's call it.
Now I see.
It's not an app. It's a game in the shop.
Fair enough. The problem is when I search, let's say, games market, and I don't put the word video or I don't put computer before the word game, then I get a lot of casino crap.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to the last item on this list for the numbers. Inside Out 2, which is a movie, surpasses The Lion King remake, becoming highest grossing animated feature of all time, which is very surprising to me.
Yes.
When we say Lion King remake, is that the 3D animated one, or there's an other remake that I'm not aware of?
There was a live action, I think, but this is the CGI. This is the CGI one from, I think, Yeah,
you don't want that. But I'm going to actually check if there is an actual other remake of The Lion King.
2019, yes.
Which I'm completely oblivious to.
It's a photorealistic animated remake.
Oh, okay, that one. I wouldn't watch that, considering
and
the generation I came from.
Directed by Jon Favreau, right? Who made the Jungle Book also.
I see.
It's very interesting. It's not related, but because I'm on a roll today, Jon Favreau used for the first time when he did the Jungle Book some new FX technique that use background screens that were also used in The Mandalorian and that are powered by Unreal. Just to come back to video games. So Unreal right now and Epic, their engine is used in movies and in TV shows as a very efficient technique of.
Is it used more than games, you think, or?
I don't know, but it's for Epic. It's also a business stream, a revenue stream, and I think it's super interesting. There are some documentary about the making of Mandalorian that I recommend, showing that. Instead of either filming on location, they would just film the location and then project the location on massive screen behind.
Yes.
And the difference is that before it was green screen or blue screen, the actors were playing, there was green, but now they actually project during the recording of the scene so that the light feels more natural because it's already the light from the image. So it's just some geek stuff.
I'm seeing there's some old videos of those which are really impressive. Are they at a point right now where it's like, let's say it's a full room or a full hangar, let's say, of screens? Or is it still that smaller, like maybe, I don't know, 10 meters times 10 meters?
It's big enough that
you are
there. And the reason also why I'm mentioning that and I was interested in that topic is because of the agreement between Disney and Epic.
Because and what is that?
You know, they have a big agreement now with Disney. They like Epic is kind of gonna be building the metaverse for Disney. That's all.
Oh wow!
Months ago. And what I found interesting is that imagine Epic is building in-game scene for the Mandalorian TV show.
Yeah.
Right? And they use these assets to kind of instantly create a video game based on the same assets. You can if it works, you can imagine the saving they would do in world building for building a video. You know, they kind of, it's like they're making a movie within a video game, and it's the other way around. But you see the synergies, right? So it makes
absolutely
that Epic and Disney would partner from an engine standpoint. It totally makes sense.
And I'll add to that, by the way, which is Disney invested 1.5 billion into Epic at one point as well.
That's and I think it's about the platform, but it's also about the technology, because they can use that technology and that Unreal Engine for their movies in the future even more.
From a multiverse perspective, if we talk long term in 10 years, it does feel like right now, at least based on what we know right now, and I'm not even going to discuss Roblox because that is just crazy when we talked about the numbers for it. But it does feel like Fortnite is potentially coming out on top. Would that be correct to say, or do you think we'll never see a monopoly full out?
Not a monopoly, because it is the same with video streaming, right? There is not only Netflix, even if Netflix was the first and is the most efficient and blah blah blah. Everybody will want a part of the cake, and then probably some other company will try to do the same. They will fail, and then maybe we'll revert back and say, oh, maybe we should just sell our gaming experience within the Fortnite ecosystem. No. That might be something that happen in the future. Why develop my own game in Unreal Engine, sell it, publish it myself, while I can instantly publish in the creator environment of Fortnite? You know, there are.
Yeah.
This is still the beginning for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we spoke about this as well last week as we were coming back from Gamescom, where we had a mobile network company creating a game inside of Fortnite to attract people to its booth, but essentially they were using Fortnite as a marketing tool, which is very interesting in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Manu, today I feel like is a very special day on the games industry executive summary. So I really appreciate the insights. And it's like, holy shit, I learned so much today. I'm so happy about this conversation. But I guess we're at the end of the show. If you don't have anything else you'd like to add. Yeah.
See you next week. Let's see what I have in stock for next week. But
I mean, I'm not sure how you're going to top this week, but I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely. For those who are listening in, Manu is active on LinkedIn. You can follow him there, and he's constantly posting a lot of his news stories that you're getting once a week. He's actually posting them actively on a daily basis on LinkedIn. So go on to LinkedIn, search for Emmanuel Rosier, and you can follow him there. Obviously, for those who are not subscribed to our newsletter, which is mostly being put together by Manu, head over to mightydiamonds.substack.com. or just Google Games Industry Executive Summary. You'll immediately find us because at this point, we own that term. Again, thank you so much, Manu, for today. Really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Have a good day. Bye-bye, everybody.